I put all my faith in Perry above anybody else they might bring in. He has walked, he not only talks it, he walks it. And he has walked the whenua from one end to the other. So who better qualified than somebody who has actually been there?
I had a 3-hour argument.
To pay off the major financial debt has split the hapu in two. Ngāti Rauhoto o te Urunga is trying to pay off its debts from a failed forestry project by setting up a joint venture with a property developer. The hapu's trustees have been working since 2005 to develop a housing estate on the northern banks of Lake Taupo, but the project has stalled. The battle lines have been drawn between the trustees and the beneficiaries of the trust. One of those beneficiaries, Kerry Carter, is filming a documentary on the dispute. Net Affairs has accessed footage from that film to compile this report. Here's Taina Mon.
Last Saturday, around 100 people marched 12 kilometres from Taupo to Acacia Bay in protest of a multi-million-dollar development, a project which has split the Symphony Properties of Ngāti Rauhoto o te Urunga. It's already had legal consequences, with more than a dozen of the hapu now before the courts.
I grew up here. I heard all the falling from our bucket. They kept us out of it. So don't you keep those playing in there? Okay. Well, they brought the reason why. They're all covered with our tubulas during the battle they had at Ponui. So leave them there. Don't disturb them.
Otuparae is a peninsula that is made up of about 19 hectares that was initially surveyed out of the main block of 300 odd hectares, and it obtained a separate title, and it's located about 8 miles from the town of Taupo in the Acacia Bay area.
The block is called Hiruharama Ponui, and there's a development going on that we as trustees have given our full mandate to.
Parawera is an exclusive 19-hectare secured estate made up of 72 private lots, with price tags in excess of $900,000 for larger lakeside lots. Parawera is a venture between the Hiruharama Ponui Incorporation and the Symphony Group, but according to hapu members, it's right on top of a nuruwha.
Between 2001 and 2004, we had the resource consent process. We had the Historic Places Trust assessment reports. All of that was done without any contact with the owner. No one was given any reports. They were not made aware of what was going on. So the Historic Places Trust did their assessment, and they granted authority without any input with the owners. We weren't given an opportunity to appeal that authority because Andrew Kuseb sat on that report. It was sent to his office in Rotorua.
Andrew Kuseb, one of the trustees of Hiruharama Ponui Incorporation, was involved in negotiating with developers.
Any wahitapu areas that are located by the archaeological surveys will be protected if they are of significance.
We were not made aware of it. The resource consent was granted regardless of the fact that there were 227 opposing submissions and only 40 odd pro-development submissions.
That we have had meetings, consultations, with the people, with the councils, with these people whom we brought in as developers, and with the Historic Places Trust.
I'd had it already recorded as a site of significance back in, I think it was 1977.
Perry Fletcher, a local historian and amateur archaeologist, was taught the history of the land by local kaumātua and huia. He's adamant the land's a wāhi tapu.
I put all my faith in Terry above anybody else they might bring in. He has walked, he not only talks it, he walks it. And he has walked the whenua from one end to the other. So who better qualified than somebody who has actually been there?
I had a 3-hour argument and deliberation with the lawyers and the others, and after 3 hours they asked me if I could see it from a developer's point of view and wear another hat. I was reluctant to take the trustees and the lawyer and the property developer from Auckland without there being a suitable blessing, but they had the tractors ready to move in, and between us and the big Māori Ponui, come church or whatever, that we've just been looked at, they've excavated. It's only about 40 metres away from us. They were going to put the road right between this and that, or right through it, had I not pointed out. Why then, with the cultural reports and everything they're supposed to do, and they've never let anyone see, that they didn't even know of these places? To go the whole headland, they can be as smart and clever after the fact as they like, but on record they knew nothing.
At the beginning of the year, members of Ngāti Rauhoto o Te Urunga occupied the land after the discovery of human remains. Those remains were later reburied back at Otuparae.
I think the decision to occupy was when the second query was dug up in May this year, and again the people were absolutely incensed about it because that also was not reported to the local hapus. The grader driver or the tractor driver who unearthed it told our people. We were not notified by the trustees of that. So of course it was the same scenario happening all over for a second time, and the Ngāti Rauhoto Te Urunga were just angry.
That's the kōrero this morning. No politics.
During the occupation, the project manager for Symphony Group, Dan Hakaria, fronted up to protesters to hear their concerns.
First of all, on my grandmother and all my people, you've got a bloody cheat. How would you like it if I came across and dug up your people? How would you like it if I came across and dug up your mother?
I want to see this land returned.
Symphony felt that it had the approvals of the people because it was the trustees to whom we were negotiating with. When you look at this land and so forth, sure, it tells us something that there is more than just a beautiful peninsula that sits there, that there would have been something of significance here. And I guess the wrong, if there was a wrong, is that a development was able to be made.
In early July, developers called in police who moved in to arrest and evict around a dozen of the occupiers, young and old. The camp was destroyed. Those arrested and charged with trespass are now going to the High Court. It's not just local hapu who are unhappy. Of the 72 lots, 21 have been sold, and now most of those who have bought in want out.
Innocent party like us to come along and spend $600,000 or $900,000 on land that is sacred to Maori and that contains a number of burial sites, in fact a large number of burial sites. They had no right to settle, that the trustees had no right to undertake any negotiations on behalf of their fisheries. But apparently we all found this out after the event.
I said to my bosses that the trustees need to be made well aware that we've been sold a lemon. Now how we get past that and I guess get recompensed and then putting this back, if that is to eventuate back to its original state, I don't know.
And we need our leaders, Te Arawa and Tūwharato, to stand up and do something about this and try and correct it, because it's not getting better, it's only getting worse. And we need to try and bring this to a head and sort something out and get something in place. Get our tikanga back, bring our tikanga back, bring our values back, bring it all back, because we're losing it fast, and it's all for the sake of the mighty dollar.
Native Affairs approached members of the Hiruharama Ponui Incorporation and the Symphony Group for further comment. They declined. Karikata hopes his documentary will be ready to screen on Māori television next year. After the break, the Public Works Act, responsible for some of our worst land grabs, is up for an overhaul.